of you beautiful nerds from around the world. How we doing today, folks? Welcome to the morning stream here on the Den of Nerds Live, the very best way to start your nerdy day. On today's show, we're talking some real crazy stuff. I feel as though Sony might be getting a little stir crazy themselves. Sony delaying Morbius until 2021. Crazy. The implications on that are pretty bizarre. We're going to talk about that. We also want to get into this news about Michael Bay signing a big old deal with Sony Pictures. Holy cow. Michael Bay Marvel movies, everybody. Michael Bay Marvel movies. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into that. There's also some Mandalorian news as well. So I want to get into that. Executive producer Ryan H. is going to be joining me in just a moment. And I want to know, how is everybody doing? Oh, my God, I see so many awesome people here. Jason's here. Stormbreaker's here. Joseph. Thomas. I saw Trinity. I saw Grey Dawn. What is good, everybody? XR Coon. Coachella. Jared Good. Hector's here. Everybody's here. The community stream, Anthony, is this Saturday, my friend. This Saturday at noon. We moved them to this Saturday. Well, we moved this one to this Saturday. What we're going to start doing is community streams are usually every Monday. But once a week, we're going to bump them to Saturdays. And I think what we'll do is we might make that the first Monday in each month. Okay? So it might be Saturday 2 weeks in a row right now. I got to double check on that. But the idea is there are some people that cannot make Monday nights, and they still want to join into the community stream. And so I figure once a month, we can have a community stream on Saturday morning. It's like basically at noon Eastern Standard Time, which should give more people a chance to get in there. But anyways, that is when the next community stream is going on. Hey, yo, everybody. How are we all doing? Michael Bay Marvel. Oh, we're going to get there, Mark. We are going to get there. So, Chet, let's get this set up and let's bring executive producer Ryan H. in to DOS Chat. Ryan, how you doing, brother?
Hey, good morning, Josh.
Good morning.
So I heard that our favorite comrade, David Harbour, said he wouldn't mind seeing Black Widow on Disney Plus, which makes me believe that he is just as excited as I am to have a Den of Nerds Live red carpet.
Yes. That I totally agree with you. And yeah, we talked about this a little bit. Ryan and I had a phone call yesterday, and we talked about this, and it would just be so fun, man. It would be so fun to dress
I already
up
bought my
and do
tux.
You got the tux?
It has to happen. Oh, got to do it.
Nice. Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I'm really hoping that does take place. I know some Marvel fans are pretty against it. It's one of these crazy things, man. I think right now, just with everything that's going on, people are just at a heightened sense of stress and anxiety. And I've been watching people, especially Marvel fans, in the comment sections of places like Twitter and Reddit, and they're just so, like, I can't tell if they've always been that rude and discourteous.
They're spoiled.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that.
Spoiled.
But like the way people were coming at Jeremy Conrad, I thought was so crazy. It was like, all these people on the comments of Reddit are saying, like, Conrad is currently talking down to a bunch of people on Twitter right now, and like that he's so condescending and all these different things. And I'm like, look, if I had to deal with all you fuckers in the way you make these comments on Reddit, I'd be fucking condescending too. You seem like
but the internet is a harmonious place.
Yeah,
right?
No,
It's not?
It's very, very harmonious. Yeah. Anthony, we use StreamYards, my friend. StreamYards. So I would love for you to come to the stream on Saturday. That would be awesome. And yeah, Trinity's absolutely right. If you guys could smash the like button on this video, that would be really cool. I also want to make something known to the people that watch this on the replay. Folks, if you have a question that you want us to talk about in Q&A, send an email to me or drop a comment on this video of a question you'd like us to cover on a show later on. Because here's the thing. We're sort of back-ending most of the streams with a lot of Q&A these days, and there are people that just always watch on the replay. And so, look, if you're one of those people, or if you just come up with a crazy good question that you want us to do during Q&A, email it to us, drop it to us in a comment section. You can get questions to us and then we can go over them even if you're not here in the chat with us, and then you can kind of check it out later, and that would be really cool. Maverick's in the building, just in time for me to take a sip of this official coffee of the Den of Nerds morning streams. Taylor Lane organic coffee. Holy cow, it's been getting me through. That tastes like a Michael Bay Marvel movie to me.
Oh no.
Oh yes. Oh yes. But hey, you know what? Let's start, Ryan. Let's start with a little bit of this Mandalorian news. Jason Ward's been doing a great job scooping up some stuff for the peoples. He recently scooped that the guy from Terminator, I believe the character that played Newt, I believe, right, will be in the show. And he reported as a rumor, because he couldn't completely confirm it, but he reported as a rumor that Jamie Lee Curtis could be in The Mandalorian Season 2. So I just want to ask you, man, what do you think she could be doing in The Mandalorian? What would you like to see Jamie Lee Curtis doing in Mandalorian Season 2?
When I first heard the news, I kind of figured it would be maybe like, who was it? Tracy Ullman had that little episode she was in. Was
Yes.
it Tracy Ullman?
I don't know if it was Tracy Ullman, but you're talking about the lady on Tatooine?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see her having like a one-off little kind of funny role, but maybe they're gonna, bring her into the universe. That would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it would be cool. You know, it's so crazy. Like when I take a look at what Favreau is doing with a lot of these castings and stuff, it's clear he's going back to sort of a different era. You know what I mean? Like he's even casting people out. And I honestly think that sort of helps with the nostalgia for a lot of people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They're just grabbing these older actors, and I'm like really surprised that specifically Bill Burr. I thought Burr. I do not think Bill Burr is maybe like an incredible actor, but I felt like he was used so smartly in that episode, and the way that his character was written, he really does a lot for each scene. Like his snarkiness and all that, it actually does a lot for the particular scenes that he's in. So I'm sure they could do something like that with Jamie Lee as well.
Oh, absolutely. Favreau, if he knows anything, it's how to bring out the best of people and how to write for individuals. So yeah, absolutely.
And let me just ask you this too, because I'm of the mind that I think Mando Season 2 is going to be much better. I still think most Star Wars fans would tell you that Mando Season 1 is one of the best things Disney Star Wars has ever given us. I almost think it's like a freshman effort, though. What do you think?
Sure. It definitely brought Star Wars back to where it needed to be in a lot of people's minds. And yeah, now they have a season under their belt. They should be able to, be tighter, more expansive in the universe. Like now they know they can play like they had the, absolutely.
And it's a totally different feeling, I think, when you walk onto a set for a season 2, having sort of the success that they did have. Right. It's a different thing when you're like, hey, we're doing this thing. It's the first live action Star Wars. And I'm sure there was a lot of stuff left on the cutting room floor, and just, they want it to be very clean. Particularly that pilot episode. It's a really good pilot episode, but it's just so short and so, you know what I mean? Like,
hopefully they see they heard all the good criticisms, and the positive ones, and they are able to adapt to it now. Because once it dropped, they were already kind of in it, so they couldn't change length of format or anything like that. So now hopefully we can see something a little bit more drawn out.
I agree. I'm really looking forward to it, and I think that the story will really open up. I'm also going to keep my eye on Filoni's live action directing. I'm sure he learned a lot in season 1, but just being honest, like I really wasn't blown away by his episodes. I felt like they could have been much better. I did think it was crazy that they gave him the episode that still has that unresolved thread that most people think is Boba Fett in episode 5.
Right.
What do you think about that? Like, do you think
I mean, now maybe
or?
I feel like everything's always intentional. Maybe it's a Ahsoka thread somewhere. They kind of kept something else open. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Well, let's get into the next topic, guys. We're gonna talk some Sony, okay? And so this was reported yesterday. I believe Jeff Snyder got this first from over at Collider, but Sony has moved several movies into 2021, and this includes Morbius. So Morbius gets bumped, and unlike getting bumped like Wonder Woman, which I'm pretty sure that August date is actually going to be moved anyways. I feel as though that was a little preemptive. But Sony very proactively adjusts and adjusts very far. This is the furthest adjustment we've seen. Bond, I think, was the closest because Bond, I think, got pushed to the end of this year, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so now we have Morbius being pushed all the way into 2021. So just off of a baseline, like, how do you feel about that delay? What do you think about that time? That's a long delay.
Yeah, when I saw it, I kind of thought, Sony doesn't care at all. Like they're not doing this whole VOD thing.
Yeah.
They're going, they'll hear this is what we're doing. We're gonna snatch up all these dates now before anyone else kind of gets them.
Yeah.
And hopefully in 8 months this will be sort of past, and we're gonna be the ones on the block that people are gonna be coming to see.
Yeah.
That was a pretty boss move.
Dude, it's so, yeah, I feel as though it's a pretty smart move, a pretty boss move as well. And there's a thing where it's like, okay, so they did one trailer for Morbius, and I do think that trailer was very successful for them, but I don't know how crazy they had gotten with their advertising. So one of the big things with the Black Widow scenario is the fact that Disney had already spent, conservatively 50, maybe as much as 60 or 70 million dollars on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would have to essentially spend all of that money again to remarket Black Widow in the future. So Sony, I don't think necessarily has that. I also think Sony's in this really interesting situation to actually benefit immensely from COVID and from everything that's going on. Like, once we break out of this, and I think that next year, early next year, is a great time. I think most things. Here's the thing: we will figure out the new normal by then. Is kind of what I'm anticipating. I don't know how much will be changed, how much of the old stuff is coming back. I don't know if we're just going back to the way things were, if everybody's going to recover economically very quickly. I don't know that, but I would say that by early next year, we should have the new normal figured out, right?
Sure.
And so Sony could potentially come in at a time when, the whole world just got over this big, crazy, chaotic thing. They are looking to go out. They do want to go out and experience something. And all of a sudden, it's this new thing. And it's not just some Sony Marvel movies. They have the time now to properly build together this Sony shared universe and give us that different flavor of the MCU. And there might be more people willing to take that medicine, so to speak, as opposed to what would have happened normally, in which case the Marvel Universe would have just chugged along. Everything would have been normal there. And then Sony kind of looks like a stepchild, so to speak, right?
Right.
Of the MCU.
Yeah, the way I see it is the MCU's a train. There's so much content coming out. When this all kind of started, I thought there'd be no way, Black Widow goes on VOD. Once this is over, people are going to be thirsty to go outside and do it. It automatically turns it into $1 billion film, right? But now, I mean, Marvel's trying, it doesn't have to worry about the next thing or if it's going to be popular. It's all about keeping the timeline and the train moving. Sony has a whole world they have to build. So it's definitely much more important for them to do this right and hit it out of the park, because if it doesn't, this is what, is important to them, is their whole Marvel universe. It created their most profitable movie or gross sales. So they need to keep this, they're just getting the train started. So it was a smart move on their part. It gives them enough time to hopefully get everything through, and then, hey, maybe, and you were right. They didn't spend a lot of money yet because it was supposed to come out in July, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So it's like they were just starting that ball. So they were able to kind of pull shoot real quick and adjust. And now they can hopefully they hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, I'm not too excited for the Morbius movie. I'm intrigued as hell. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it comes along.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very interested. I just see like kind of an opportunity in the state of things, man. I really
Sure.
believe that they've got it, and they also have an opportunity to, and this is similar to the opportunity that Star Wars has, and I desperately hope that Star Wars is taking this time and understanding the opportunity that they have, and this
Mm,
is to shore up all of the loose ends and really figure out the continuity quite strongly. Morbius itself could be a much better film. They have more time now. They could
hmm.
potentially late in the year they can do some reshoots. You know what I mean? They can
Sure.
they can punch it up. I think also that Morbius was going to be a pretty like we've heard the big rumor in the plot leak was that there's a connective tissue between the some of the Marvel characters that were in prison, some of the villains, including Toombs, and they will interact with Morbius in a prison, and perhaps that breakout is all because of Michael Morbius. Michael Morbius breaking out of
Hmm.
prison could be a thing that gives all of these villains free reign.
Right.
Now, I don't think there was going to be an extreme amount of connective tissue between Venom 2 and Morbius. There's some shots that actually just came out that do show that Venom, at least in the sense of graffiti, is going to be
Right.
in the Morbius movie. But
Yeah, I
as
saw
far
that.
as the actual connective tissue, I don't think they're in as much of a situation as Marvel is, where they're like, oh, these ducks need to be in a row for this all to
Right.
make sense, right? So they
Hmm.
could potentially still release Venom 2. If Venom
Mm,
2 is hot, and I think Venom 2 is going to be hot,
yeah.
then they ride right into Morbius, a nice, polished, cleaned up Morbius at a time when
Hmm.
the world is looking for new entertainment for that new stuff, So,
Yeah. This could work out for them really well because
yeah.
even I didn't necessarily understand, you know, not having Venom 2 come out first to try to get that pump train going. I mean, I understand what they tried. They almost kind of maybe Captain Marveled it by
Mm-hmm.
putting something ahead of it,
Yeah.
But it still was kind of one of those things where like this is what you're going to give us as your second real offering. So yeah, maybe it works out really good in the end if they can, hit a home run with Venom 2. People are
Yep.
going to be really excited to see Morbius. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that it's almost like the kind of the stars are aligning for them. There's
mm,
also more time for them to potentially be negotiating with Marvel. Now, this is something we really don't know much about, but it would appear as though Feige, Rothman, they have some kind of an arrangement. It is figured out for the time being. But, as Sony continues to just push out content and create stuff further, down the line, so there's time now, especially with Spider-Man production on the actual Spider-Man movie that Feige is doing being delayed. There's a lot more time for them to consider and to think about that connective tissue and how that process
mm-hmm,
goes. So, yeah, I just think that there are certain studios like it's just so weird and interesting how months ago Disney was considered a titan of
mm-hmm.
Hollywood and unbeatable. A record year, $13 billion
Yeah,
of gross in 2019, and now you turn around and where weeks ago we were talking about how Warner Brothers and DC Films are in trouble. Now being backed by AT&T, they're in a actually much more stable position than even Marvel
mm-hmm,
Studios or Lucasfilm.
sure,
It's crazy how fast things can change. But,
mm-hmm,
right now, the box office is very feeble. I see some people talking about in the chat how it could be years before that gets back to normal, and that's true. We don't know.
right,
It could be a slow build back, but I think that, if the game in town has completely changed and we're talking about $600 million movies is sort of the new billion, and you're like, holy shit, like I'm really excited to make that 600 mil. Uh, Sony's Marvel movies could be an incredible asset, to that studio and to Sony at large. So
sure,
it's really wild how it's all going down. Now, before we get into the Michael Bay stuff, and I know everybody watching at home is so excited to talk about Michael Bay Marvel, and I'm going to gush about Michael Bay Marvel. But real quick, let's talk about one more Disney thing here, Ryan. We were talking about this a little bit before we went live. I think I'm now 99.9% sure that Bob Iger stepped down in the middle of February 1,000% because of coronavirus and 1,000% because he knew at least a little bit of how bad this thing was going to be. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm getting an X-File sound in my headphones. I need to hear that again. I can't. What?
Oh, yeah, no, conspiracy. Bob Iger knew. Hashtag Bob Iger knew.
Yeah, you brought it up. He would know. They do have their ties to China and how important it is to their revenue streams.
Well, they had just closed the Shanghai
I'm not
park.
Say no.
Right. Well, apparently they had literally.
I won't say no.
Well, they had just closed the Shanghai park, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like literally right as they closed that park. Because I remember watching a lot of the interviews. Chapek and Iger did a lot of joint interviews, just for shareholders' sake and for stock value. They did the rounds, and I found it so interesting that like they did get asked about the virus. Even then, I think before a lot of people understood or realized how crazy it was going to be, right? And so even then, they were talking about how they had just closed the Shanghai park. They're looking at all these things it's going to affect, but they'll be fine. Blah blah blah. And I think Iger just saw it coming, brother. And this is one of the things we talked about a little bit off air as well, is that, Bob Iger also runs in a lot of political circles. He has a lot of friends in the political sphere. He wants to be president someday. And actually, I think he would be a hell of a president. I mean, depending on what policies, I'm in this kind of mode with politicians where it's like, voting record used to mean something and where people stood used to mean something. And now, more or less, I'm kind of thinking, man, maybe it's better that we don't, have these voting records for these people. Just tell me what you're about, you know what I mean, and get in there.
Yeah.
But, I think that, when you look at how some of those senators and those people had sort of dumped stock really early. Right. There were some people that knew more or less how bad things were going to get. I think Iger could have been one of those people.
Absolutely. I mean, he got out while the getting out was good.
It's not just Iger. Maverick says 172 CEOs stepped down the same month. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like people, man, that's, I mean, look, I get it. I get it.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was able to stay in a great light. Look, I do love Iger. He made some of the best deals.
Yeah, I'm a big
out
fan.
there and acquired some of the like as a business person, and I've seen some of his like masterclass commercial things. And he seemed like a great guy, and he's smarter than the average bear.
He's definitely he's a super intelligent guy. Very very smart. By the way, did you know that Chapek has a degree in like biology, like
really?
Yeah. So Chapek has like a degree in a potential field that is affecting things a lot right now. And the thing that's also interesting is that Chapek is known for being really stingy. We sort of talked about this when the announcement was first made. He's sort of like the bad guy at the company that would come in and make cuts and do all those sort of things. Disney just announced that all of these from the top down people are getting their salaries cut. Iger took zero salary, for until this gets figured out, and Chapek took like a 50%. Okay. Yeah, no, he'll be fine. He probably moved some stuff around before all that went down. But essentially, it's just it's a wild look. We're living through this super wild, ridiculous thing, and it's just interesting to think about the fact that Iger likely knew in some way that this was coming. I wonder if he knew that it was going to be this fucking bad, though.
This bad? Yeah, no, I would imagine he didn't think it was going to be this per se, but he knew that there was going to be a hit to the brand and to the stock price just by China alone. Even if it stayed in China alone, it would have disrupted stuff. You got to think all the shooting that they do around the world and this, that, and the third. So it would have been enough to mess up some stuff, and he was already on the way out
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
why
indeed.
not?
Indeed, yeah.
Why not step down, but still help, and then let Chapek deal with the brunt.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I know. It's we'll see. We'll see how it all goes down. It's
But
microbiology. Nice.
if they'll recover, it's Disney. They're big enough that no matter what the new norm is, they'll figure out the way to make it right. So not to feel anything for Chapek, I'm sure maybe it's the right move having a kind of hard-nosed kind of guy to get them through
it's really interesting. I wonder if I think I don't really know what to think about the Apple Disney thing. I saw some people talking about this in chat. I don't really know what to think about it. In my opinion, I think Apple has kind of lost their way. And they've had like some good stuff, but like literally ever since Jobs passed, I feel as though they've had like some kind of an identity crisis. This closed ecosystem, a lot of like the innovation has kind of stalled. You know what I mean? I think the coolest thing that Apple has done recently is the ear pads or pods. Those are a really nice product, and I think that they're it's really great. I do think that where the technology and the software and the hardware of Apple integrates with Disney could be very, very useful and interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. What do these companies even mean to us as consumers? I do think that it's important. A lot of people maybe would say, "Oh, I don't even care. Let Disney burn." I totally disagree with that. Disney is not only responsible for a lot of the enjoyment and sort of the fun that a lot of families and stuff have. They also have an incredible legacy with Walt, and I know there's a dark side to it. There's a dark side to every fucking thing, you know what I mean? Like,
sure,
it is what it is. Like, let's not get too woke in the comments,
right?
Calm down.
There's a dark side to the phone you're watching this from right now.
Yeah, like, motherfuckers.
But
where do you think those conflict minerals came from? Anyways,
but
yeah, go ahead.
Disney's on the Mount Rushmore of childhood, next to Steven Spielberg. Like,
right, exactly. And beyond
there's
that,
no way
they employ
even if you
so many
didn't watch
people.
Disney. I know a couple people that were like, "Oh no, I never really watched it," but it still affected your life somehow.
Absolutely.
There's something that whatever, like it's there.
The reason George sold to Disney is because he viewed Disney as the company with enough strength, wherewithal to literally always be around to properly carry that legacy. And look, that means something. And as like an American institution, as much as people want to gripe on Disney, and look, that just comes with the territory. When you're on top, you get shots are taken and all that. They're not without sin. They've done a lot of nefarious things. I'm not a huge fan of how they bend the knee to China. I'm really not.
Sure.
I don't like that. That might change maybe in a post Rona world. But I think like the idea of being like, oh, fuck Disney, like fuck the corporation, all these rich people, screw them and all that. I think that's horrible. You know what I mean? I really do. I think that's a horrible way to look at it. They employ so many people. Obviously, it would be great if they paid all of their people much better, but they employ a ton of people around the world. They're a beacon for a lot of great stuff in people's lives. I just think it would be a shame if they got sold to the wrong company. But then again, that opens up a whole can of worms where, again, I'm not even sure where I stand with Apple as a company right now. When you look around at all of the major companies right now that are making huge revenue and that have a lot of power and influence in this current economy, are there any of these companies that you're actually a really big fan of? Like, do any of these companies have a strong, resonating brand? I mean, I don't think Google does. I don't think Facebook does. I damn sure don't think Amazon does.
No, they're taking a hit. I would, out of all of those, I would say like Disney and maybe Google, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Like would be the best ones. It's
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild out there. But anyways, folks, let's get into the last main topic of the show. This one's going to be so fun for me, and then we'll bust into Q&A. I'm sure everybody has some thoughts.
Stretch this out.
Yeah, so here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, Morgan says, think of all the shills on payroll. What do you think I'm doing? I'm worried about my shill checks, obviously, Will Morgan.
Disney.
Yeah, I'm gonna need my shill checks, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? I don't think Apple's gonna cut the same checks. So yeah, thanks, Will. Anyway, Michael Bay, renowned Oscar dubbed director. No, he's never even been close to an Oscar. I don't think. Maybe for Pearl Harbor, actually.
Big explosions. Yes.
Yeah, the master of explosions. The master of explosions. Michael Bay signs a huge deal with Sony Pictures. Okay. Now, as Ryan had just said earlier, their biggest movie of all time is Spider-Man: Far From Home. That's the biggest movie they've ever done. They also have the Bond franchise. You know what I mean? I'm sure they're looking at other IP and different things like that. But when you sign a huge deal with a crazy big name like Michael Bay, I mean, you're probably bringing him over to work on your biggest stuff. It's like the J.J. Abrams deal. Like, we don't know for sure that J.J. Abrams is developing DC content over at Warner Brothers, but it's like, fucking what else is he going to do? You know what I mean? So Michael Bay doing some Marvel movies. Just give me your baseline thoughts, Ryan, before I geek out about how awesome I think it is.
Look, I know people might have opinions about Michael Bay and some of his work, but sometimes, just sometimes, you need to watch some shit explode.
Yeah.
And I think right now we're in a time. I don't want story. I just want explosions.
Yes.
Big explosions. And I think it's going to be fun. I think this could be, look, sure, they'll probably make, some stupid movie he wants to do. But if they put him into a Marvel movie, it doesn't have to be, canon driven, a crazy character who needs to whatever. When I first heard it, I just thought Green Goblin throwing things, making them explode. No, you don't want to do that. But I think he could have some fun. Silk movie.
Oh, yeah.
Or Miguel O'Hara. See a little 2099, something far out into the future.
Yeah.
Maybe he hasn't really, I don't know, all of his work. I guess Transformers is his biggest, like.
Well, he just did that movie on Netflix, which was okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was okay.
That one was okay. I think one of his, didn't he do 13th Hour?
Yeah.
I think he did 13th Hour. That movie is terrific with John Krasinski. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That movie is fan-fucking-tastic. I also think Armageddon is obviously...
Did he direct it or did he just produce it?
That we're going to have to double-check. I would ask Chet to look that up, but he's fucking useless, so let me check it out. I'll look up Michael Bay...
But that first Transformers... I
good.
mean, I was at a time, where, you're early 20s on a date.
Oh yeah.
That move. I mean, when the cop car first transforms and then it kicks into the Muse song, I will never forget that. And the sounds and like the visual awe that movie did was amazing. He totally screwed up the rest of the franchise. But that was a great movie. He can do it.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No. I mean, look.
Now we're at a point where I don't care. I just want to see stuff blow up. I know what you're good at, and you know what you're good at. So just do what you're good at.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. So we have one movie in the Sony Marvel universe. Okay. One movie, and that's Venom. Now we're obviously getting more, and they're working on a lot. But when you look at Venom, and you put the name Michael Bay out there, it feels like the most on-brand thing I could imagine. Right? Like, it seems like the whole vibe of the Sony Marvel movies is like, let's do the MCU in the early 90s. Like, with an early 90s kind of motif, with that sort of very tropey, very, like, that's just it feels like the color palette, everything. Everything feels like it's from the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And Michael Bay is such an ideal, perfect fit for it, and it gives you that sense of like, this shit's about to get ridiculous. You know what I mean? And the memes, the memes are gonna be fantastic. Yeah. Like shit just got real.
Of the day, it's still a comic book movie. We still need every once in a while, like you're saying, like you don't want it to be the same like trope. That's why you don't want all the Sony characters in the MCU, because it'll just turn into the same thing over and over.
Yes.
This might be a good Deadpool sort of twist and a little escapism from a long train of story that we're getting over and over and over again.
Yes.
Kind of sit down, have some fun. This is not going to mean or tie into anything except itself.
Yeah.
And, go enjoy yourself for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think that's their whole vibe, is they want to just have fun with these movies, and that's the thing. Like, I think in a way, not to say that Feige sacrifices fun, because that's not it, but I think he in some ways sacrifices the bombastic. The MCU is pretty grounded, even with the craziness that it's starting to broach now. It's still pretty grounded, especially at its beginning stages, right? So,
right.
I feel like Michael Bay is honestly a perfect choice for doing this. And with the idea of Solo being sort of a Nick Fury character, and them having maybe a big plot and building towards a big crazy thing that all has to do with Solo perhaps putting together a team with Spider-Man and with some of these villains to have a big, or fight a big enemy or fight a big threat. I personally think it might be Null, the symbiote god, and they might bring like the symbiote god and the symbiotes into that universe as a big.
God,
yeah, and
that's awesome.
Yeah,
like, now that I'm thinking about this and watching like the Sinister Six team up with Spider-Man to fight symbiote gods,
that's what I'm saying.
How awesome would that be?
Shit's gonna get crazy, dude, and like that's what you want, like with that big, like the alien band. Because think about this, he did one of the things I really like in a lot of the Transformers movies is a lot of the scenes that were on Cybertron or the scenes that were out in space. Like when it's just the Transformers, I think some of those things are great. Like they're really good, and the whole integration of like how the Transformers and the humans and everybody relates and all that stuff. I feel like some of his sensibilities with that sort of stuff could play very nicely.
If we think that Michael Bay's usage of humans is tough, none of these are humans.
Right.
They're all superheroes. He can all treat them like over-exaggerated, crazy characters, which is what he does the best.
Yeah, correct. He loves that. Right. And there's also the added benefit of the one thing I can't stand with his choreography with the Transformers, and I've seen some people talk about it in chat, and I totally agree, is it's so confusing the way he shoots some of the Transformers transforming, where you're like, what is even happening? Like, I remember this a lot in the second movie where I'm like, I can't, my brain can't even follow what is even happening with this shit. But you're not going to have like Transformers, like that whole, I just feel like ultimately he was a bad fit for that franchise specifically. That's not to say that he's a bad fit for everything, Like, and also one of the things that they do really lack, I would say, if you're comparing the Marvel Cinematic Universe to what they have going on at Sony, the MCU has a set team that develops and essentially shoots the action sequences for every single MCU movie. So every single MCU movie, the directors, like, they direct the film, but then when the action stuff happens, they're kind of told to sit down. You know what I mean? Because that's just the MCU way. So the one thing they really don't have, Sony that is that they don't have a very good mind for action, right? So you look at Ruben Fleischer in the first Venom movie, not like crazy good with the action. A lot of those scenes were really cool, but he wasn't like on it with the action, I think similarly with Andy Serkis, Andy's probably going to absolutely nail many aspects of that film, the motion capture, the character moments between the CGI characters and stuff like that. I don't think he's top notch when it comes to action, but if you're building towards bombastic, crazy crossover, huge level Spider-Man things, which Sony is trying to do, I think you need somebody with the sensibility to do grand action. And if there's one fucking thing that Michael Bay does well, it's that. I mean, think back to The Rock, think back to Armageddon, think back to Bad Boys 1 and 2. Bro, the man can do action with the best of them.
I think I'm gonna go watch The Rock now.
Dude, The Rock is one of the dude. If you haven't seen The Rock, if you're in this chat right now and you haven't seen The Rock, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, kinda.
Dude,
Nicolas Cage and Michael Bay.
Oh my God, Conroy in that movie, Sean Connery in that film, man, where he's like, losers always say they gave it their best, and winners go home and fuck the prom queen, shit like that. Like it's just like the best one-liners, like just amazing one-liners, just strung throughout. You know what else? We're on a tangent here, and this is in no way quarantine-induced craziness. But you know what other movie has some of the best one-liners? Have you ever seen The Last Boy Scout?
No.
Oh my God, bro. You gotta watch The Last Boy Scout. The Wayans brothers, one of the Wayans brothers, I don't remember which one, and Bruce Willis, and holy shit. It's like the most late 80s, early 90s action movie you've ever seen, with some of the best one-liners you've ever heard. It's a fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic. But, folks, we are going to shift. We'll shift into some Q&A. So if you got some questions, you want to ask Ryan and I our thoughts about something, or just anything in general going on in the nerdy world, drop a question on in, and we will go over that. What are people saying about this? Everybody's in love. The Last Boy Scout is awesome. Hell yeah. You saw The Last Boy Scout in theaters? Trinity? Holy shit. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by that. What is this April 10th news? What is everybody talking about with April 10th? You let me know, chat. What's going on with the... Oh, Final Fantasy VII. Okay. The remake's coming out on April 10th. Well, that'll be great for a lot of people.
Has anyone played the new Doom yet?
You know, I have not played Doom Eternal at all.
I love Doom.
Did you get the new one?
I haven't gotten the new one yet. I didn't even beat the first, second redo, whatever that would be.
Yeah.
It's just
the one that came out in 2016 or whatever.
Yeah, it's so good. I started replaying that one.
Hell yeah! Well, Russell, while you're in here, man, you got to play. You got to play some Warzone with Ryan and I later today, because Ryan's got off, and I'm trying to play some later today. Oh, let's see here. Anthony says, what are your predictions for the character that Sasha Banks is going to play in Mandalorian? Is it going to be a canon character or a brand new character altogether? I would assume it's going to be a new character. You know, they're especially like, it just gets really tricky in that time period when you're trying to bring in other characters, because like one of my big questions here, and this doesn't really have, it's like Mandalorian related only because Ahsoka is likely to be in the Mandalorian after this. But one of my big questions is, if Ezra is alive and Ahsoka is alive during the events of the sequel trilogy, where are they at? Like, what are they doing? Like, I don't understand. Particularly Ahsoka. We know that her voice comes to Rey at the end of the film, but I'm totally confused as to like Ezra is literally the same age as Luke Skywalker. So would he be an old fart? Yes. But would he be very strong with the Force? Yes.
Also, yes.
I need to understand how that works together. I mean, the real answer is the sequel trilogy was this thing where they were like, well, look, everything, we're going to put a bubble around this. Nobody can have any fun and try to figure this shit out because we're going to let everybody have carte blanche. We don't need a plan. Let's spin all these plates at once. It was a terrible idea. But having said that, I would still like to know how it all fits together.
Sure. But there's hope, Josh. And that's all we need.
That is all we need.
Look at the battle bracket.
I know,
Luke
right?
Skywalker won.
I know.
It's awesome.
It is awesome that Luke Skywalker won, but I also blame Rian Johnson completely for it.
You do that, and I don't know why. Maybe it's warranted. It could be warranted.
Ryan, he made him drink the titty milk. That image is burned in the mind of Star Wars fans. As soon as they
bring that up,
they have to vote for Luke. That's how it is. That's how it is. I rented The Last Boy Scout the release day. Yeah, I bet not. Yeah, I bet not, bro. Battle Bracket Sham, says Fanjecture. I got to reach out to Fanjecture. I would love to get on the phone with Trinity and Fanjecture later today. What are you boys doing? You let me know in chat. What are you boys doing? Because there's a lot of things we're working on behind the scenes at the Den today, or this week, forever. But yeah, I'd love to chat with you guys. Whatever happened to Bloodshot? Bloodshot is on. I actually texted Tara this morning.
It's on VOD.
Yeah, it's on VOD. I just don't think I can fucking spend $20 on Bloodshot.
They make ways around it.
And that's true. By the way, I spent $20 on the Switch remake of Jedi Academy. I gotta be honest with you guys, don't do it. Loved the game when it first came out. Definitely not worth your $20. Like, there's one thing that they could do. XR Coon, look, man, I don't know much about pirating, but send it to me and I'll watch it. So, there's a way. If one little thing in Jedi Academy had been changed, I would recommend everybody get it, and I'd be trying to play with as many of you guys as possible. If they had a way to actually set up the online matches so that you all could, like, know and get into the same game, but it's only through matchmaking. It's completely random. It's kind of bogus. So if they had fixed that, I would highly recommend that thing to everybody. But I can't. Let's see here. Will Morgan says, am I crazy for thinking Baby Yoda will one day wield the Darksaber? Am I getting my hopes up? Born Jedi, raised Mandalorian, totally badass. That is an interesting theory. Again, I feel like Baby Yoda is another thread that sort of muddles things up with the era of the sequel trilogy. You know, the whole idea is like that the Force is awakening and that the Force is kind of lie dormant, and then like Rey and Kylo sort of become the new awakenings of the Force. But like if Baby Yoda was around, he's obviously very strong. If Ezra was around, he's obviously very strong. And Ahsoka was around, and she's very strong. Like, where were they? The only... go ahead. What do you think?
Galaxy's a big place.
A big place.
The Force is awakening for the Skywalker Palpatine thing. So, but, it's around. I think they can retcon it pretty good. Like, it'll be a tough pill, big horse-like pill.
Yes.
But I think they could do it.
Well, there's an interesting kind of rumor about the events of the Rebels sequel. And so there might be a thing going on where the Grisk out in the unknown regions are like kind of attacking the Chiss Higher Ascendancy. But there's a rumor that the Chiss are actually going to be fleeing from this... actually like maybe even the Rakatan Empire or like a version of the Yuuzhan Vong. And so there could be like this other threat that's in the unknown regions. And so it could be a thing where Ezra and Ahsoka and maybe the child are all out there kind of being Jedi and working against this other threat that's sort of like unbeknownst to them. But what that gets into is really weird because it's like, look, you just blew up 10,000 fucking Star Destroyers. And I know Palpatine's a dick face. I totally get it. But if there's this other big crazy army coming in, really could have used 10,000 Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
Would have been real sweet.
Would have been nice.
By the way, Rey should have just fucking done it, man. She should have just killed him. Palpa Rey. Going into the next saga. New tyranny. Man, that would have been cool. Anyway, is Ryan quoting Captain Marvel? Are you quoting Captain Marvel right now?
I don't think so. But yeah, sure. Maybe.
Maybe.
What kind of hate does that get me now?
So here's a question for you, Ryan, from Anthony. Says, let's say Apple does buy Disney. Who does it benefit more, Disney or Apple? I know I could help Apple with their streaming service. How can I help Disney in the long run? So it could help Apple, but how could it help Disney in the long run? What do you think?
Long run for Disney. I don't know. I don't know how hardware helps Disney integration into
Maybe
things,
with the
into more
parks.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, on a technological level, I guess some of the rides will get cooler, but yeah, no, I think it's if you're gonna 80-20 rule it, it's 80% Apple's benefit, and
Yeah.
then
100%.
and a 20% Disney.
Yeah, and Disney, I mean, yeah, it's so weird. I mean, I guess the benefit to Disney would be that they would not bottom out as a company. You know what I mean? They'd get some influx. I didn't really understand. I guess I didn't realize how bad the Fox thing was for them. And it's also really interesting that Disney Plus is making them literally no money right now. And it's sort of a long game for them, right? They were thinking within
Right.
5 years they'd have enough market share to be making huge amounts of revenue each month, which is true. But right now, it's literally losing the money. So it's like they're so far. When you're a company that was doing as well as Disney was, you felt comfortable going into the red for a big ask later. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Netflix is spending. But by the way, another company that's going to come out of this very well, nicely, is Netflix. Netflix was on shaky ground too. Remember all this craziness? It's so fucking crazy, dude. Like Netflix was going to get bought by Disney. Then Netflix was maybe going to buy Disney. Like Netflix has liquidity. They can literally buy Disney now. It's like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, it's just crazy that Disney was taking a lot of risks looking out at the macro and seeing their cash flow and just how their businesses were operating. They felt very comfortable taking those risks. The
Sure.
Fox thing has lost them money. Not only do they have debt now, but the Fox properties that are coming out are literally losing Disney money.
Yeah.
It's a bad look.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, but
bad look.
again, I mean, they were positioned to take it, and now it's a little tough.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
again, I think in the end they'll be fine. They just they're gonna have to be adapt or die basically. And I have a feeling that at the end of the day they'll adapt to it okay.
Yeah, yeah, they'll adapt to it. They should be. I personally hope that Disney gets a little bit of help. I want to see Disney kind of remain its own company. Just it's publicly
Hmm.
traded and all of that. But I would love for Disney to sort of remain not purchased or not
Right.
combined with another company. That's just kind of me personally. I would much prefer that to happen, but you never really know. Apple and Disney could be a tremendous partnership, moving forward. I just fear like, look, I'm not an Apple person. I respect the company. I really like Steve Jobs. I really like Steve Jobs. I know he was an asshole, but he was brilliant, probably the Da Vinci of our time. And I would not be super keen on the Apple ecosystem creeping, because it's like Apple, all they
Sure.
want is the people to be in that ecosystem. So you got to buy everything you need for all your shit through Apple.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
hate that. I'm so
Yeah, I do too.
anti that. Like I love the open source. I love like Androids sort of just being more open and the customization and all that stuff. I like that
Hmm.
way more. So I'd be a little bit
Yes,
nervous
sir.
with that happening. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Netflix should buy back street level heroes. I don't know about that. I don't know if that would happen. Let's see here. Anthony has another question. Josh and Ryan, best young directors you would like to see working in the MCU in the future, and what superheroes would you like to see them do? I don't know if you've got any offhand. The only person that I can think of, and it's not a young person, it's Noah Hawley. And Noah
Sure.
Hawley he's just really, really brilliant dude with writing and directing. He did the Fargo TV show, and Legion. And I also can test that the end of Legion is literally a perfect ending, which is so rare in storytelling in general, but particularly when it
Mhm.
comes to comic book movies. A perfect ending is really hard to come by.
What
And
do you mean? Didn't you see the ending to Lost? It was amazing.
the ending to Lost is like the ending to Game of Thrones, where you might as well have somebody come into your house, slap you in the face, and be like, "How'd you feel? Wasted 5 years."
Whack.
Yeah, and just hit you right in the face. Maybe in an appendage or something like that. Dude, Jordan Peele would be great, but Jordan Peele for his brand, I don't think he's doing that.
No.
I don't think he's doing that. What do you think? You got any other great talents out there that you'd love to see? Because that's one of the things with the
I
community stream is we're looking at directors we would want to see come into Marvel. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'd have to do a little bit more research. I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, Martin Scorsese obviously would be hilarious.
that would be ridiculous.
Martin Scorsese should come do a movie, a solo movie about the Thing in the wake of him becoming the Thing, but like a character study of what it's like now on Yancey Street for him being the Thing. You know what I mean? Like
I think that's a
just
good
like
one.
Yeah.
I
Like
think
do it
that
to
I think that's
Scorsese.
it.
Give us a 3-hour fucking fall asleep, have to watch it in 3 different settings kind of movie, like you do so well, Scorsese. Give us that, but with the Thing. That would be awesome. I'd love it.
I would say after watching A Quiet Place, Krasinski would be kind of fun to see what he could kind of do in a space, especially one that's kind of like we were saying before. Everything's kind of written out for you. You don't really have to worry about the action pieces.
Right.
You just get to kind of, put your sprinkle and touch on it. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting. Some people said Tarantino. That could be really fun.
That would Sony.
Yeah,
Sony.
yeah. Well, he does have a good relationship with Sony, so
he needs space to play.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, he probably wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, I want to sort of brainstorm a little bit.
But I
more
would watch
about
the
that.
hell out of that. I don't know what he would do. Yeah. But yeah, I watch the hell out of that.
Yeah. That would be pretty wild. But anyways, folks, we're going to call it there. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the stream. Again, if you're watching us on the replay and you have a question you want us to go over in tomorrow's show or in another show, you can definitely email us at thedenofnerds@gmail.com. I also want to let people know you're going to want to start getting your teams together for the big trivia contest that we have coming up. We've been sort of talking about this. It might be several weeks before we actually launch the official start of the tournament. But there's no reason you can't start trying to figure out your team. Teams of 4. You could do teams of 3 if you really wanted to, but teams of 4 is what we're looking for. We also have a new thread on the Discord for people that want to kind of collaborate with each other and try to find a team. So you can check that out. But yeah, you probably want to start getting your teams of 4 together for the big old trivia contest. I think it's going to be really cool, and we're looking at a lot of fun stuff with that. It will go on for very many weeks. And it'll fill a lot of time and be very entertaining for you guys as well. Okay, so we're looking forward to that. So yeah, again, thanks for being here, Ryan. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that Michael Bay.
Can't wait to come back.
Absolutely.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And
explosion,
guys. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Chat. What do you think about Michael Bay? Oh, you've never seen Bad Boys 2? You've never seen Armageddon? Jesus Christ. You got to see it. No, not here. No, you got to get it. Go home. Go home and watch it at home. Video on demand. That's the new thing. You rolling this out?